lesson is going to cover how to find inputs and outputs based on a graph of a function when you're given f notation and function notation. I have a graph here of a function. It's a pretty weird looking graph because you don't really know what the rule is and you don't really know what's going on. I don't have any equation for it. But I know it's a function because every input comes from only one output. Sorry, every output comes from only one input. So I'm trying to find f of 2. This 2 is the input. That means I'm looking for the x value. Well, the x value here was 2, so the y value that it corresponds to is 2. This is the point 2, 2. Here, the x value is -6. An x value of -6 would be here. It corresponds to a y value of 3. So this is the point -6, 3. The output was 3. If I'm trying to find f of 0, well, 0 is my input, which is, here. It doesn't correspond to anything on the graph. There's no corresponding point for that, so this is actually what we call undefined. It's not 0. 0 and nothing don't mean the same thing. This is what we call undefined. Okay, here it's saying the y value is 9. This is a y value. I'm trying to find that x value. If the y value is 9, that's here. That's corresponding to this point over here. So its shared x value is 7. If y is 9, x is 7, because this is the point 7, 9. The input was 7, the output was 9. If the y value is 2, that actually happens at a couple points. It happens here at 2, and it happens way over here at -7. There's actually 2 values. That means this isn't a one-to-one function, it's just a plain old function. But because one output came from 2 different inputs, it's not a one-to-one function. 6 is one to pay close attention to. This is saying the y value is 7. Well, the y value is 7 here, and here, and here at 3, 5, and 9. But it's also 7 here at 4, and also everything in between. All of these x values correspond to an output of 7. So my x could be a lot of things. It could be 2 and 2.1 and 2.2 and 2.3 and 3 and 3.1 and 3.2 and 3.3 and 4 and 5. So we say x is actually between 3 and 5. That's what that means right there. That's saying x is between 3 and 5, and x is also 9. So it could also be this point right out here. So whenever you have some sort of a list of numbers that are possible, that's a way to find everything in that list. I don't want to use the term range because that can get confusing. Domain means all the x values. All the x values that appear on your graph, that's domain. The best way to find that is how I've talked about this idea of having a scanner, like the line that runs on a printer or a scanning machine. So pretend I've got this perfectly vertical line, and maybe my computer will let me draw one at some point. Okay, I'm going to go to my mouse instead of my pen. Pretend like I've got some perfectly vertical line. I'm going to drag it left to right, starting over here. So these are all the x values that I'm checking. X -10, -9, -8, and I want to see if this line touches the graph anywhere. Well, the green line doesn't touch here, and doesn't touch here, and doesn't touch here, but starts touching here at -7. An x value of -7, and it goes all the way until an x value of -1. From -7 to -1, I have my domain. So I'm going to say, come on, help me out. -7 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to -1. Then I do it again. Take the line. I'm not touching the graph here anywhere, but from 2 all the way out to 9, I am. So this would be 2 less than or equal to x, less than or equal to 9. That right there is the domain. Range is the same thing, only it's the y values. I'm going to clean this up a little bit. Range means y values instead of x values. So if I take this point, take my scanner line and make it go horizontal instead of vertical, and start at the bottom. Come on. I'm not hitting -6, -5, -4, -3, -2. I start hitting it all the way up here at 2. This is a y value that goes from 2, hitting up till 9, from 2 to 9. So my range is 2 is less than or equal to y, which is less than or equal to 9. That's my range. Hope you found that helpful. If you have any questions, let me know.